Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am just Mike, and you are watching and you are listening to episode 12 of the Rock Out Wild Show. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell to get all the latest on this very channel. Also, like this video if you haven't done so yet, and also share the Rock Out Wild Show, episode 12, with your family and friends. Spread the word about the Rock Out Wild Show. I am your host, Just Mike. It is March 6th as I am recording this very episode, but I'm going to air this episode on a later date, and that very date is. If I can get the calendar up, that'll be all right. This computer is slow. I will be airing this episode on. Oh, come on, calendar. All right, that's it. Seeing as the calendar on my laptop does not want to agree with me, I'll have to go to my calendar on my phone. Okay, so on a Wednesday, March the 19th. That is correct. So, this episode of the Rock Out Wild Show will be premiered on Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. And I'm going to go outside of the norm for this episode, a little bit outside the box. Now my calendar pops up on my laptop. I tell you, I'll tell you about this laptop that I'm actually currently working on right now. I have had this thing since 2011. It's a Toshiba laptop, and this thing still manages to work for me. It's a freaking miracle. I try to keep it healthy. I keep it updated with software, and I try with the hardware and the Windows Live updates and stuff like that. Resetting, shutting it down, doing all the virus scanning and stuff like that. And this thing still works. It's still going. And I am also on this laptop as I am recording this episode of the Rock On Wild Show. In fact, I have been using this Toshiba laptop for all the Rock On Wild episodes using StreamYard right here. So, like I said not too long ago, I'm going to go outside of the box with episode 12 of the Rock On Wild Show. As you saw the title of this video, I found an interesting little article from Indeed.com, and it's 17 interview tips to help you succeed. So we will dive into that right now, actually. I don't know if there's actually 17 interview tips on this article. I was briefly looking at it a little bit, but we shall see what is on this thing. So let's share screen and see what this is all about. And this was updated on February 7th, 2025. I'm not going to watch the video that's on here just in case if I get copyrighted. So before I dive into this article, I am someone who has had a lot of interviews for probably around close to the 20s, if not maybe 20 something interviews. A lot of interviews. There was a time when roughly around between 2012 and 2015, that 3-year gap where I was unemployed and I was just looking for jobs left, right, and center. I've had job interviews. I go in, I present myself, I do my thing, I answer the questions as best as I can. And most cases, I don't get a call back to say, hey, when can you start? And then you got the job. When can you start? Stuff like that. I never really got that. It wasn't until 20 like in 2015 where I was really starting to find my stride when it comes to presenting myself in job interviews. And luckily, I got a position at a disability resource center 10 years ago. And ever since then, I've been working consistently, haven't missed a single year. So, and I'm 10 years going strong. So, with all that being said, let's get into this article. So, there is a video, I'm not going to play it, but I did find some stuff that was interesting in this article. So, what to avoid in an interview? This is something that has been stated here, and it says making a mistake in an interview is easy to do, but becoming aware of problem areas can help you prevent them. And in this video, which I'm not going to play again, Taylor, a recruitment expert, shares 5 common job interview missteps, mistakes, and missed opportunities. When you have an interview scheduled, there are a few steps you can take to increase your chances of getting the job. Preparing for your interview can help you feel more confident in yourself and your responses. In this article, we give you some tips to help you get ready for your interview. And there's a related thing about a step-by-step guide on how to stand out in an interview, which I might get into in just a little bit. And there's also some related jobs on Indeed and stuff like that. So here's some tips for before the interview. Here's some valuable tips to get ready for the interview. And the first one here, I 100% agree with. Research the company. Here's the thing. If you don't know the company you are applying a job for, make sure you do a little bit of homework before you go in. Even if it's just, even if you're in a mad rush, just do a quick Google search, find out what the company is that you're applying a job for. And there's also practice common interview questions using the STAR method, which will be on here. Choose your interview attire. Have copies of your resume and references. That's very important. Prepare specific examples of your work and create a list of questions to ask the interviewers so that, an interview can be a two-way street. It's not just the employer's asking you questions, it's the potential employee asking the employer questions. And think of it this way, it's not just an interview you're going. I know when you're going for a job interview, it's going to be a little bit of a pressure. You get nervous, you tend to get anxious. Think of it this way. Don't think you're going in for a job interview. Think of it, you're going in for a conversation. That's what I always usually try to think. So here it says research the company. Learn more about the business by looking up its website, which I just mentioned earlier. Take note of the mission statement. Now, where I work, which I'm not going to say, if you go to that specific website, there's a lot of mission statements for a lot of aspects in that field. So learn more about the business by looking up this website. Take note of the mission statement, company culture, and any other factors that could help you deliver more targeted responses. You can also look at the company's social media accounts and any recent news to gather more information. If you know the name of the interviewer, which would help, take some time to research them too. Look for information about them on the company website or search for the professional networking profile. Learning about the interviewer can help you make a more personal connection. That is very true. And there's a related link there, perfect interview answers to common interview questions. That's probably something I can dive into as well. So practice common interview questions. Prepare answers for common interview questions that hiring managers often ask. And the biggest one here, which is the first one here, tell me about yourself. And that is something I always struggle with. That first question is nerve wracking. Um, it's just one of those things where you really have to know yourself to really answer this question. And really, when you ask something about, tell me about yourself, or something along those lines, tie it back to the specific job position that you're applying for. If you can't come up with something that you know yourself, do something that came from the job ad specifically. And there's also, what is your greatest strength? What is your greatest weakness? Now, when you're asking something like a greatest weakness, you don't want to say it's an overall weakness. The best thing to do is turn that weakness into a positive. And tell me about a challenge you had to overcome at your last job. How do you approach a typical work day, and what motivates you? Like for me, for me specifically, music motivates me. Now, anybody could have something different of what motivates you. You can also research specific questions for the job you're interviewing for. For example, if you're interviewing for a programmer or developer role, you could practice coding questions. When you practice your answer to these common questions, you can deliver more confident responses. If you can, practice with a trusted friend or family member who can give you feedback. You can also practice your facial expressions and body language in front of a mirror. That was something that was actually taught by me, like for advice as well. So, we've got some related articles about, do you want to tell us anything about you? And common interview questions for HR journalists. There was something called the STAR method that was talked about earlier on, so let's get into this. So when you're practicing your interview answers, try to craft them using the STAR method. And STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So the situation, describe a challenge you encountered at work or school. Well, really, that could be anything. Task, explain your role in the situation. Like, are you the student? Are you the teacher? Are you like what is your role in that part? In action, detail the steps you took to address the situation. And result, describe what happened as a result of your actions. And again, turning the weakness into a positive goes a great way. Using this method could help you deliver a detailed answer that hiring managers will appreciate. Choose your interview attire. Here we go. So the day before your interview, choose what you intend to wear so you don't feel rushed. Make sure your clothes are free of wrinkles, stains, and they fit correctly. Ironing is a good way to as well. If you're unsure of the dress code at the company, it's best to dress more professionally to make a good impression. You can also call or email the person you've been communicating with to get more information about the dress code. Now, in my closet, I have pretty much work-related clothes of just like shirts that look professional and pants that look professional. They're not jeans. I can't stand jeans. I don't even wear jeans at work. And so really I wear pants, dress pants and and shirts like a not t-shirt specifically, but professional looking shirts. In fact, I'll actually give you a bit of a visual. I'll stop sharing for a minute and start my cam, and I'll actually show you something like. I mean, this is just one example of something that I have. I don't know if you can actually see that, and this as well. So let's share that again. All right. And also have copies of your resume and references. Have 4 or 5 copies of your resume and references ready in case there are multiple interviewers. I remember one specific interview I had where I had 4 people interviewing me. So I had to look at this person and the other 2 people. That was an odd thing to master. And print them out the day before and keep them in a folder or portfolio. Make sure the paper isn't wrinkled, creased, or smudged for a professional appearance, obviously. Prepare specific examples of your work. The interviewer will likely want you to see examples of your work, so it's helpful to be prepared. Have physical examples ready, such as a portfolio, or think of specific work you can describe. Use numbers to give the interviewer a better perspective of your work. For example, you could say you lowered customer wait times by 20%. If you have an online portfolio, and the link to your resume so hiring managers can review it before the interview. Create a list of questions to ask the interviewers. So at the end of the interview, hiring manager will probably ask you if you have any questions. Have a few questions prepared to show the hiring manager you're interested in. Reread the job description and review the company's website to craft thoughtful questions that can help you learn more about what it would be like, how today responsibilities look like. That's a good one, actually. I really like that second one there. Who would I work with most? How will my performance be measured? Why is the position open? And what are the next steps in the interview? And there's one here that is not on here that I generally ask in an interview is, when do you expect a final decision for this job position? That is a very important one, and that shows you that you are eager to start a new job. And there's tips for during the interview. Review these tips to get ready for the interview itself. The biggest one here, arrive early. Now, when it comes to me specifically, I am always early and never on time, because if you're on time, you are late. That is one of the mottos that I go by myself. Now, some people might be different, but that's how I view being punctual. So arrive early, treat everyone with respect, observe workplace dynamics, practice good body language, keep your answers concise, deliver positive answers, reference your accomplishments. So you like, say for example, as for me, I graduated college with a diploma and scholarship in the field of such and such, like whatever it is you're in the field of. So yeah, so it says here arrive early. Make sure you're 10 to 15 minutes early to make a good first impression. Absolutely. Plan your route to the interview location and check for possible traffic so you can arrive on time. If you're using public transportation, check for multiple routes and schedules. If you can, travel to the location the day before to ensure you know how to get there. That's very important as well. When it comes to treating people with respect, you'll most likely meet multiple people before your interview. And it's important to treat everyone with respect to make a positive impression overall. If the hiring manager asks for feedback about you from other employees, you can be confident knowing you were friendly and professional in all of your interactions. Observing workplace dynamics here. When you arrive early, you can spend your extra time observing how current employees interact with each other. Like, what's the vibe like there? Since you might work there in the future, it's helpful to learn more about the workplace dynamics and atmosphere. If most employees seem to show open, positive body language, it's a good sign that the environment is also open and positive. Practice good body language. During your interview, maintain a good posture. Keep your back straight and shoulders back. Cross your legs or keep both feet planted on the floor and keep your hands resting on the table instead of crossing your arms. Maintain eye contact and smile often to show you're positive and confident. Positivity looks like a key factor when it comes to uh, preparing for a job interview. Keep your answers concise. Since you have a limited amount of time during the interview, deliver thoughtful but concise responses that clearly answer the question. Make sure all of your answers provide value and show the hiring manager why you would be a good fit for the job. Practicing your answers before the interview can help you stay concise. And there's a topic on 19 common interview questions and answers. That's something you can probably dive into as well. When it comes to doing job interviews, usually they last roughly around an hour at the most, maybe 40 or 45 minutes at the minimum. Deliver positive answers. Even if you have a negative experience with a previous employer, giving positive answers shows you can overcome challenging situations. If you're feeling discouraged about your current job, focus on talking about what you've gained from that experience and what you want to do next. Reference your accomplishments. Employers want to know how you can bring value to their company. In your answers, talk about specific achievements or accomplishments to show how you can contribute to the open role. Relate your achievements to responsibilities in the job description to provide even more value. Tips for after the interview. You can continue to make a good impression after the interview by following these steps. Send a thank you note or an email. Follow up at the right time. And keep an open connection. So when it comes to sending a thank you note or email, no more than one day after the interview, send a thank you note or email to each person you interviewed with. Thank the interviewer for their time and consideration, and reiterate your interest in the role. If you have any questions you were not able to ask during the interview, include them in your email. You can also include specific achievements or accomplishments that remind the hiring manager why you're a good fit for the role. The sending thank you notes and emails is a practice I don't do very often when it comes to job interviews. Following up at the right time. If you haven't heard from the hiring manager after 1 week or after they plan to make a decision, call or send a follow-up email. Reconfirm your interest in the job and ask if there's additional information you can provide to help them make a decision. Keep an open connection. If you don't get the job, it's still useful to keep an open connection with the employer. It's possible that a similar position could become available in the future, or the employer might be able to provide a reference for a job at a different company. Thank the hiring manager again and ask to be considered for future opportunities. And that's pretty much it for 17. I don't know if that was 17, but that was an article I found interesting on Indeed called 17 Interview Tips. What was it called? 17 Interview Tips to Help You Succeed. So that is that topic right there. Now, let's get into what the usual stuff that happens on the Rock Out Wild Show episode 12. Let's look at On This Day in music, wrestling, film, and television history. And also, I'm going to react to a movie review, a Transformers movie called Age of Extinction. Oh boy. Michael Bay, good lord. Anyway, let's start sharing screening and let's get the show on the road. So share screen. Let's look at what happened on March 19th in music. The biggest music headlines. Look at that. It's 50 Cent in the club. So on this day in music, March 19th, 2005. Damn, that's 20 years ago. Rapper 50 Cent wrote himself into the history books by becoming the first solo artist to have 3 singles in the U.S. top 5 at the same time. His song Candy Shop from his second album, the multi-platinum The Massacre, bagged the number 1 slot, while at number 4 was How We Do by fellow rapper The Game, which he had a guest spot on. At number 5 was another track from The Massacre, Disco Inferno, not to be confused with the Tramp's 70s dance floor anthem. That was the first thing that came to my mind, was Disco Inferno. In 2018, Drake smashed first-day streaming records on both Apple Music and Spotify with the single God's Plan, his 4th US number 1, and the first single from his 5th studio album, Scorpion. The hit, which topped the US charts in 14 countries around the globe, was the most streamed song of 2018. In 2015, Ed Sheeran's second album, aka Multiply, equaled the feat held by Adele, Emily Sandé, Take That, and Michael Bublé during the same decade by racking up 2 million UK sales. The album stayed at number 1 in the UK for 12 weeks and went on to spend 74 consecutive weeks in the top 10, surpassing the 71 record by Adele's 21. That is impressive. 74 weeks in the top 10. In 1982, Randy Rhoads, a founding member of Quiet Riot and guitarist with Ozzy Osbourne, passed away in the plane crash. Wow, that was 82. Oh my God. While he was only 25 at the time of his death, Rhoads was considered to be one of metal's most innovative musicians, who popularized a variety of techniques, including two-handed tapping and dive bombs. In 2006, Colombian pop singer Shakira became the first artist to release a single in the form of exclusive cell phone download. The track was Hips Don't Lie, which later went on general release and shot to number 1, became the most played pop song during a single week in U.S. radio history, racking up 9,637 plays in 7 days. That is impressive. Very impressive. And in 1962, Bob Dylan's self-titled debut album was released in the U.S. by Columbia Records, produced by legendary John Hammond, who discovered Billie Holiday, Aretha Franklin, and Bruce Springsteen. It was largely ignored on its release. Its disappointing sales saw Columbia Exclusive describe it as Hammond's folly. And so here are some of the birthdays that happened on March 13th in music. Clarence Paul, producer, in 1928. In 1944, Tom Constantine from the Grateful Dead. In 1946, Ruth Pointer from the Pointer Sisters. In 1953, Billy Sheehan from Mr. Big. Also in 53, Ricky Wilson from the B-52s. And in 1959, Terry Hall from the Specials. Now let's look at some of the things that happened in wrestling on March 19th. Look at that. Look at that picture. In 1943, on March 19th, legendary luchador El Santo won his first of 4 Mexican National Middleweight Championships with a win over Murcielago Velez, or Velez, if that is how if that is the correct way, let me know. If not, let me know. In 1983, a unique match took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, when Andre the Giant, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, and the WWF champion Bob Backlund defeated Alpha, Big John Studd, and Captain Lou Albano in a best-of-5 falls match. In 1995, WCW presented an infamous installment of the uncensored pay-per-view from the Tupelo Coliseum in Tupelo, Mississippi. The opening match of the show was King of the Road match, in which the Blacktop Bully Barry Darsow defeated Dustin Rhodes on the bed of an 18-wheeler truck moving slowly down the highway. What the heck? During the match, both men bled unauthorized. As a result, both were fired. In the main event, Hulk Hogan defeated Big Van Vader in the leather strap match with another man willing to do the clean job. Was Hogan. Do you expect him to do a clean job? No. Ric Flair ended up strapping Hogan, and in complexity took the finish of the match. And here's some other ones here. In the year 2000, WCW Uncensored took place at the American Airlines Arena in Miami, Florida. The main event saw Hulk Hogan, brother, defeat Ric Flair in a Yapapi strap match. Yapapi strap match. What the heck is that? First 5 years to the day since both men were involved in a strap match main event at a previous uncensored pay-per-view. Earlier on the card, Brian Knobbs beat all 3 members of 3 Count, Shane Helms, Evan Courageous, and Shannon Moore, to win the WCW Hardcore Championship. Another title change occurred when Ron and Don Harris defeated the Mamalukes, Big Vito, and Johnny the Bull to win the WCW Tag Team Championships. In 2001, the night after Greed pay-per-view, the Monday Night Nitro took place from the Stephen C. O'Connell Center in Gainesville, Florida. The main event saw the Team Canada duo of Lance Storm and Mike Awesome defeat the Natural Born Thrillers, Chuck Palumbo, and Sean O'Hare. Also in 2001, in an action-packed episode of Monday Night Raw, Engine Christian defeated the Hardy Boys to win the WWF Tag Team Championships, and then lost the straps later in the night to the Dudley Boys. During the course of those title changes, both Spike Dudley and Rhino made their WWE debuts. Elsewhere on the show, Raven defeated the Big Show to win the WWF Hardcore Championship. In 2002, William Regal defeated Diamond Dallas Page to win the WWF European Championship at a SmackDown taping in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. On the same day, X-Pac joined the NWO on the same show. In 2011, ROH Manhattan Mayhem IV took place at the Manhattan Center in New York City. The main event saw Roderick Strong drop the ROH World Championship to Eddie Edwards. And I'll go over a couple more here. At a TNA taping on Orlando, Florida, 2 title changes took place. Firstly, Crazy Steve and Abyss defeated Beer Money, James Storm and Bobby Roode for the TNA Tag Team Championships. Later in the night, Bram defeated Eric Young in a Falls Count Anywhere match for the TNA King of the Mountain Championship. In 2019, a gauntlet match took place on SmackDown to determine the number 1 contender to Daniel Bryan's WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Kofi Kingston started the match and defeated Sheamus, Cesaro, Rollins, Samoa Joe, and Randy Orton to seemingly secure the Mania match. Vince McMahon then surprisingly added Bryan himself to the match, who defeated and exhausted Kingston and seemingly ended his stream of Kofi Mania, but we all know that Kofi Mania ran wild after WrestleMania 35. In Noble Wrestling birthdays on March 19th, we got AJ Lee, Matt Sydal, Jimmy Corderas, and Rick McGraw. Now let's look at on this day in film and television history for March 19th. 1928, Almost and Andy debuts on radio, NBC Blue Network, WMAQ Chicago. The 25th Academy Awards, Greatest Show on Earth, Gary Cooper and Shirley Booth win first time televised in 1953. In 1964, this is Sean Connery. The game is on, Sean Connery. Sean Connery's first day of shooting on James Bond film Goldfinger in 1964. In 1977, last episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show premieres on CBS with a group hug, searching for a box of tissues, then singing "It's a Long Way to Tipperary." In 1979, U.S. House of Representatives began live TV broadcasts via C-SPAN. In 1981, NBA 8th Daytime Awards, Susan Lucci loses for the second time. Why would you... I think you will want the winner, not the loser on this article for some reason. 1984, American sitcom Kate and Allie premieres on CBS TV starring Susan St. James and Jane Curtin. In 1992, revival of Henrik Eisman's stage drama, The Master Builder, directed by Tony Randell, opens at the Belsacco Theater in New York City, runs for 45 performances. In 1995, revival of Brian Fragle's stage drama Translations, starring Brian Dehaney, opens at Plymouth Theater in New York City for 25 performances. Here is a good one here. In 2016, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, directed by Zack Snyder, starring Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, first premiered in Mexico City. And that is pretty much all for on this day for film and television. So we are 39 minutes in of episode 12 of the Rock Out Wild Show. And we got one more thing to do, and that is a reaction to a movie review of mine. Let's get this over with. That's all I got to say, because it's Transformers, it's Michael Bay, it's Age of Extinction. Oh boy, here we go. So I'm going to open up the tab. I'm going to open up the tab first to get this going. All right. Let's share screen this I don't. For some reason, I keep going to settings instead of actually presenting. For some reason, here we go. Share screen. Transformers: Age of Extinction movie review time. Let's open up this shindig and let's start reacting to this review. I'm prepared for this. I'm going to actually open up my camera too, just for this reaction. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, kaboom.
Boom, 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 boom. Slow Yeah, well, that pretty much sums it up.
Beautiful.
Hey, what is up, all movie fans in the Movieverse? Welcome to the Mike McRod movie review.
I'm sorry, I gotta pause it. That had to be the best intro I've ever done for a movie review ever.
YouTube channel, and right now I'm going to talk about the new Transformers 4th installment called Age of Extinction. I don't even know where to begin, to be quite honest. This movie, oh my god. Alright, I will say this at first. There's a different cast, so we don't get to see Shia LaBeouf, no Megan Fox, no other girlfriend, no his parents,
Thank God.
none of that stuff, but it's just the same Transformers movie from the past 3 movies. But I will say that this movie was a little better than the last 2 Transformers movies, but not as good as the first one. To me, when I look at this, I look at this is the second best Transformers movie, and it still sucks. And I'm going to tell you why. Is because there were a lot of unnecessary action scenes in this movie that it was 2 hours and 45 minutes. Oh, jeez. This movie would have been a lot better if it was 90 minutes long and they got the freaking point across and didn't beat around the bush with a lot of unnecessary bullshit. This movie stars Mark Wahlberg, and he has this really hot daughter, and a couple of guys that were supposed to be funny, which I don't think that they were. And with that being said, the humor, I didn't see any humor when they tried to be funny. At least Mark Wahlberg was the only one that could carry the movie. He was decent in his role. That was the only one good quality that I thought that came out of it, as well as, like I said, a couple of CGI moments, but there was just so much of it. I mean, this is one of those movies where you have to suspend your disbelief and just watch a action movie that made no sense and no direction at all. This movie...
Oh yeah, what does Sean Chandler call them? Taco Bell movies.
This movie had no flow to it, no pace. It was just way too long. And even a kid had to go up and go to the bathroom in the middle of an action scene. It was that long. I mean, oh my god. I mean, okay, here's the thing. When it comes to the acting and the performances and the talking, etc., it was all very cheesy. And like I said, it's the same movie we get. We introduce the protagonist, and he's struggling with something, seen it all before. And then there's a government conspiracy. We've seen all that before. And the last 30 minutes of the movie is just, like I said in my introduction, all out action, freaking packed stuff that it was just unnecessary. To me, this movie had a lot more negatives than there were positives. I couldn't pick out any more than 1 or 2 positives out of this movie, other than the fact that it was slow, it was choppy, it was just a mess. And there's no continuity, no the consistency throughout the entire thing. Michael Bay has become the John Cena of WWE. Same old shit. We get the same Transformers
much.
movie that we see from Michael Bay. The same type of explosions from Michael Bay. The same type of storylines from Michael Bay. I was just bored.
I'll say this: under the Triple H regime, now in WWE, it's a little bit better.
In like the last hour of the movie, and I was like, okay, time to wrap this up. All right, let's gonna move on. All right, let's go. And I was like, oh my god. It was just, oh my. I literally have no words to describe how bad this movie was. I mean, here's the thing. I knew going in that I was going to expect a bore fest, something that was dragged out, knowing that it was going to be 2 hours and 45 minutes. And I will say this, if you enjoyed the first 3 Transformers movies, then you will enjoy this one. But I couldn't find anything that was anything close to of a redeeming quality. Nothing. So out of 100, oh man, I would have to give this movie a low ranking system. 23 out of 100 points.
That is
yes,
low.
And I challenge any movie that's coming up this year to top this as the worst movie of the year.
Oof,
it was that terrible. So that's my review for it. If you saw the movie, feel free to chime in, comment below, and tell me what did you think about it. And also, you can click that subscribe button down below this video to get McRocked.
So yeah, that was my review for Transformers: Age of Extinction. Yeah, little did I know, or maybe little did anybody know, that Bumblebee was going to come out eventually, which ended up almost saving the Transformers franchise. So, with all that said, 47 minutes in, let's close off episode 12 of the Rock and Wild Show with a daily vibe, perspective of the day kind type of quote. And it goes something like this: your cozy home is a sanctuary, a place where warmth and comfort embrace you at the end of each day. It's where memories are made, laughter echoes through the rooms, and love fills every corner. Embrace the simple joys of your cozy home, the smell of freshly baked cookies, the softness of your favorite blanket, the glow of candlelight on a winter evening. Let your home be a reflection of your heart, a haven of peace and tranquility. Cherish every moment spent within its walls, for it's a place where your soul finds rest and your spirit finds solace. That, my friends, was episode 12 of the Rock and Wild Show. I am your host, Just Mike, and on a final note, to all of you watching and listening to this, wherever you are in the world, get plenty of rest and always do your best.